Chapter 3. Awake while others dream. "Who are you?" Hazel asked. A gentle breeze swayed the trees, while the stream whispered endless nothings, but the night was otherwise silent. She stood far from home, more than a mile from the southern edge of Coravain's third wall. She watched a large, dark animal sitting 20 feet from her, regarding her with intelligent green eyes. She folded her arms. "It's usually polite to introduce yourself to strangers." The creature stood and smiled with bright white teeth. As it moved closer, she noticed the animal was a black dog, though bigger than any she'd seen. "You're correct, Miss Enda. My apologies." "You're forgiven," she said, examining the creature. "What are you?" "I'm a Grimm, and my name is Garrow." A Grimm, she thought for a moment. She remembered stories she read of black dogs, given power by fey magic to protect certain areas from harm. Most were sad stories. "Have you come to return me to my grave?" "No," Garrow said, sitting down. "I do not belong to the cemetery where you were once interred. My business is different. May I ask why you're here?" She considered the creature. Talking to Fae in the forest at night was an excellent way to be kidnapped or ensorcelled by their strange magic. Still, despite the stories, she sensed no malicious intentions. "I'm here because my entire existence is tied to this spot. It's the only reason I am the way I am today." She gazed at the ash tree beside her. "I was here with friends when I fell from a high branch and drowned in the creek unconscious. This is the one place I can go where I don't worry others." "You don't fear the dark?" "No. Here there are no expectations." The black dog nodded slowly. "I can understand that to an extent. What's changed since you returned to life?" "Me." Hazel examined her green hand. The alteration should have been alarming, or even devastating, but it wasn't. "I imagine your parents are pleased you've come back." The Grimm's tone gave Hazel the impression he was searching for something. "No, they're not." She looked at Garrow. "Hazel Enda died several months ago. The only child of Kyle and Lynn Enda, taken just before she reached adulthood. When I was discovered in that mage's house, they assumed it was me as I was, as they remembered me. But I'm not." She put a hand on the tree and ran her fingers over the bark. "They have now lost two things. They've lost their beloved daughter, and they've lost the perceived right to grieve for her passing. It's a toothless kind of mourning to be sorry for the living. It would have been better for them if I stayed dead." "I doubt they see it that way." "You cannot see if your eyes are closed," Hazel replied. "They would never admit it, even to themselves, because it defies all parental instincts. Parents should love their children regardless of what they've done, and to do otherwise is ungodly. My parents are good people and clung to the hope I would improve. But it's been 3 weeks and nothing has changed. Every day I'm with them, they sink deeper into hopelessness, and I'm the cause." A breeze rustled through the branches. It was colder than usual, but Hazel felt no chill or desire to warm herself. The gentle sounds of the forest filled the silence between her and the Grimm. "You are more open with your feelings than I would have expected, Hazel Enda, and more insightful than others your age. Few would share such intimate thoughts with a stranger." "I'm not open with my feelings because I don't have any. As for my honesty, only those who feel pain worry the truth will hurt them. It's easy to be open and clear-headed without emotions. She approached the Grim. Why are you here? I'm here to find you. Well, you found me. What now? Now? He stood and stretched. I give you the same offer I gave the others. She nodded. This sounded familiar. You've done the same thing 3 times so far, haven't you? Garrow's head tilted and he blinked. Well, yes, actually. How did you know? She sighed, looking up as a small cloud briefly obscured one of the moons. I just know things sometimes. I have dreams where something happens and then later it does. Often it's vague, but other times it's direct. I saw you before as well. It was just a week after I'd woken up. She watched the black dog. It was hard to discern the emotions of the creature, but she could sense his growing anxiety as she talked. You ran through a world of endless white, only disrupted by the passing forms of animated shadows. It was only half of you. Your back half was missing. Garrow retreated a few steps and sounded like he was clearing his throat. She smiled. You were afraid of me there, too. He barked a short laugh. You were absolutely right, Miss Henda. Though you had glowing green eyes in the shadow world, and now your eyes are... He squinted. She sighed again. Hazel. My eyes are hazel. His posture relaxed. Were you named for the color of your eyes? No. My mother craved hazelnuts when she was pregnant with me, and my parents took it as a sign from the gods it was supposed to be my name. Honestly, I think they just couldn't come up with anything else. He chuckled. You can move from terrifying to humorous without effort. You have a gift for simultaneously disarming and alarming those around you. I suppose rather than speak to you as I have the others I've made this offer to, I might as well ask, what is it you know? You told the others of some sort of occupation. It's something dangerous, but I don't know what. I think it involves white flowers. The Grim tilted his head. Flowers? Or the flowers could have been part of an unrelated dream. I don't know. His tail wagged slowly. Well, the first part is correct, at least. Would you be willing to hear the specifics of the offer in exactly 1 week's time? I would. She looked back toward the city. But my parents will never allow it. They barely let me walk near windows. I doubt they're eager to let me start a career. Garrow peered into the canopy, weighing his words. Your previous insights seem to indicate otherwise. I think, she said, staring into the darkness and toward the city, that they wouldn't want me to leave. They may be miserable with me, but they wouldn't welcome the thought of me disappearing either. Allow me to be blunt, he said. If you caused your parents suffering, then it would be most to their benefit, whether or not they recognize it, if you left. I do not mean you should never see them, but if you believe that each time they gaze upon you, they die a little within, then the answer is to live away from them until your emotions return. Even the sorcerers of the Sapphire Guard couldn't get my emotions back. Do you think your fairy magic can? No. But sometimes we find what we need when we stop searching for it. If your goal is behind a wall, it may be wiser to seek an aperture than to fruitlessly attempt to scale the stone. What I offer you is a gate to achieving what you desire. It may be a circuitous route, but it has more potential than waiting for a miracle. She stared into the branches of the trees. Even if I wanted to, my parents would never consent. Their consent is irrelevant. By the laws of these lands, you are an adult, and free to do as you see fit. Besides, they recognize they're incapable of protecting you as well as they'd like. Your world has become more dangerous than you realize. Rumors already swirl around your neighborhood, and it will only worsen. One day, others will seek to destroy or possess you. When that day comes, it will be crucial to have allies who can aid you. As it stands, your parents are alone in defending you, and they know it isn't enough. She nodded. She thought back to her time with the Inquisition and Inquisitor Thomas Eller. He hadn't wanted her released, but the king demanded it. She understood little about the Council of Archmages, but she knew the Inquisition worked for them, and not for the kingdom. How long did she have until they claimed her? I'll go. He nodded. I'm glad to hear it. You're more important than you realize. Do you know what I am? He shrugged. No, not precisely. Then how do you know I'm important? He gazed at her. The breeze gently lifted strands of her hair. As she pushed them back, she saw her green fingers. She wasn't human. Not like she was before. I believe, he said, importance is only partly related to what one is. Have you ever heard of Gazrelin? No, she said after a moment. Gazrelin is a 500-year-old dragon. How is it you've never heard of a creature as great and old as Gazrelin? She shook her head. I don't know. I don't know the names of every dragon. He looked at her slyly. But you've heard of Garazan Narakesh or Alzavarathid, correct? Of course. They're in many stories. Then I suppose it doesn't matter what one is, rather than who one is. Gazrelin is many good things, but his full title is Gazrelin the Indolent. He has sought nothing more than to spend his days idly hibernating in the winter and napping in the sun during the summer. He hunts when necessary, but rarely further than a mile from his cave. Occasionally he waylays travelers to hear a few stories, but nothing more. His life is spent doing neither harm nor good. He smiled at her. Your importance isn't tied to what you are, but to who you are. I know you're important for who you are, even if I don't know what you are. That's nice of you to say, but I'm not sure that's true. I assume you're recruiting me for something you believe I can do, but I don't know what that is. How am I supposed to help if I don't know what I'm doing? He leaned forward a little. I haven't any idea. You're uncertain how I can be useful, but you want me to join you. Exactly. I know I've only been alive a second time for a couple of months, but that doesn't make sense. One of the great joys of life is it is not constrained by our abilities to comprehend it, he said. I know in time you will grow into something beyond my ability to fathom. I await that day, and the day after, when you tell me I was right. She scrutinized the black dog. He was only partly joking. Beneath the humor was a deep sincerity that made her want to believe him, even though he gave no evidence to support it. She sighed. I suppose it would be interesting to see what happens, but I have no relevant qualifications. Before I died, I'm pretty sure the only thing I was good at was climbing trees, but my present situation throws that into question. He laughed. I'm sure you have other useful skills, but we've tarried here long enough. I told your parents I would get you home safely, so that's what I'll do. He padded back toward the city. She let him lead the way. They chatted the rest of the way about other matters, but her mind drifted elsewhere. The faintest flicker of emotion sparked in her chest as she walked. Would this really give her a sense of purpose? She doubted it, but she needed to be certain.